Flè Dizè. In our country, there's a little flower the peasants call it Flè Dizè. They say it unfolds each morning exactly around 10 a.m. It's a little red flower, not conceited. It's not big and it's scentless. It just grows anywhere it can find, in the bushes or on main roads. But if you can't follow a bee or the path of a butterfly, you may pass it by and not even see it because it's so hidden within the grass. When I'm talking about Flè Dizè, it's not just about a flower, it's a whole season in my life that swirls and twirls within my heart. At that time, how old could I have been? I was 10, if I remember well. I was growing without understanding, like a wild flower growing in the fields. Just about every single little path etched by the feet of the peasants from Kokok all the way to Lembe was carved in my memory. Back then, I could identify the song of every single bird, from the little green hummingbirds to the taco and the spades. In my neighborhood, there was a little school, just a small room covered with a tin roof. It had a little backyard behind it, enough to draw 2 hopscotch games. 1 sandbox and 2 flamboyant trees would lay their shadows over it. The parasite foot trees in a row formed a wooden fence around it. Advanced classes had 4 benches. Elementary had as much. 2 or 3 benches for middle school and 6 for kindergartners. We all had only 1 teacher. He'd have 1 class doing spelling, a second one doing dictation, while a third one would be reciting. We all know well how students like giving teachers all kinds of bad names. But Prof. Guillaume was so gentle, we only called him Blessed Heart. But between us, we gave each other names so mean that often it created huge fights. Even though it has been so long, there are some that I still remembered. We called Pericles Powdered Feet because his feet were always dusty. Even when he's crossing rivers, he'd step on rocks not to get them wet. And because Eman's stomach would shimmer like glitter with mango sauce or sugarcane juice, we would call him Varnished Stomach. But there was one among the names that I drag like an old debt. The name marks me like a beast that is branded with hot iron. It was the name we gave to a girl because she was late every morning. It was always around recess time, about 10 a.m. when she'd come. We called her Flè Dizè. The name suited her very well. You might think that I'm joking, but she was as beautiful as the flower. She was so calm and gentle. If someone stared at her too hard, that was enough for her to close like a mimosa leaf shaken by a passing child. Prof. Guillaume had never punished her because she couldn't show up on time. And that would not have helped anyway. It would have been a waste of time. She lived in the mountain of Bienak, in a place that is called Gaillac. While other children were still sleeping, she was already on her way to school. That is why with the dismissal of school, she would be hurrying and running off. Despite that, she would still get home at dusk, as the owls came out and the chickens went to roost. We, the children, actually knew that one day she would drop out of school. With all her arduous trekking, at some point, her body would have had enough. That is why one morning in June, when she didn't show up for school, we didn't think too hard about it. That was how it would finally end. Mango trees bloomed, mango trees ripened. Days turned to weeks, Weeks turned to months, and at the end, we had all lost hope that Flè Dizè would ever come back. But there are heroes and fighters. They get hit hard and they stumble. Even when they seem to be dying, don't rush to claim victory. Poète Guillaume was one of those heroes. There was nothing that he wouldn't try to lead a child back to school. And besides, he was gifted with words. School ended one Friday with the singing of our anthem. But Poète Guillaume told us to come back in the morning at 4 a.m. He told us we are going on an excursion, but at the same time, it would be a mission. Bring plenty of food and drinks in your backpack because we'll be climbing Mount Bienac. The next day, we were all there. None of us was late. Poète Guillaume put us in a row. Older ones in the back, little ones in the front. The dust was rising like a fog under our sandals while marching in unison. With bulging chests and swinging arms, we marched and sang with confidence. We want you, dear homeland, powerful and strong in all eyes. We want you, blessed land, worthy forever of our ancestors. The more we walked, the clearer it got. The stars switched off one by one. As one rooster crowed and another responded, the countryside awakened in a burst of color. By the time the sun came up to break its fast with the morning dew, resting on the banana leaves and French peas, we'd already traveled a long distance. We climbed hills and hiked through plains. We crossed rivers by the dozen. Yet, even though we were all tired, we never stopped chanting. It's us, the young students, the full-grown ones and the small ones. Tomorrow, the glory of Haiti, the happy hearts, the fervent souls. Always forward we will go, with great pride and heads held high. Along the way, we crossed paths with the country folk, fully loaded en route to the marketplace. Some of them even blessed us with snacks to eat. Our people may be poor, but they are very generous. We saw children going to fetch water with calabashes on their heads, gently swaying on top of cloth rings, while other ones busily tended to their animals. It was at this point that I remembered what Poète Guillaume would always say. For every brain that goes to school, there are 100 ones that go to waste. At last, on a large stony plateau, we finally arrived where the rocks were white like quicklime, next to a huge water basin. We put down our baskets and backpacks and all the other things we had brought because we had arrived in Bienac, where Flè Dizè was living. Since Poète Guillaume did not know her house, someone from the area led him there. Meanwhile, he told us to wait for him. He would be back with her right away. We had been on the road before dawn. By then, our bellies were empty as drums. I suppose that all of you understand that we couldn't wait any longer to eat. We had some bread with avocado, cassava bread, and peanut butter. We also had some bananas and fresh cheese, and in no time, they were all gone. When we were full and satisfied, we all got in the water. Some of us dove off rocks, while others splashed in the pool. After we had swam for a long time, we saw Poète Guillaume coming back. But since he was returning alone, we figured that something was wrong. We all ran to meet him. "Where is Flè Dizè?" we all asked him. His head down, his arm behind his back, he walked right by us and didn't say a single word. He went to squat by the river. He wet his face and rinsed it off. But he did not have to do all of that because we'd already seen the tears in his eyes. We felt a chill passing through our bodies, just like when you're walking alone late at night and a dog howls at a full moon. Your blood shivers, your heart races. This young girl knew nothing, yet her life was already lost. A little flower had withered before the sun could open its heart. Who here is smart enough to count? Use your pencil to calculate. Each day that passes, every day that we've wasted, how many Flè Dizè have died? So right before we left for home, we went to kneel at her little tomb, which was in the backyard of a straw house underneath a flamboyant tree. As it was a simple little mound of earth which had no name written on it, we went to glean some Flè Dizè, returned and planted them right on it. If life brings you to the mountain of Bienak in an area called Gayak, if under a flamboyant tree you see a beautiful little crown of Flè Dizè, step back and go around it because you may be climbing on a little tomb. So the meaning of this poem, Flè Dizè, for me as an American-born Haitian, it is quite incredible to partake in this, how would you say, this opportunity to bring to life this poem in a different language outside of Creole. And the reason why is because, you know, when people ask me, where are you from? I always tell them that I am Haitian. I was born Haitian. I wasn't born in Haiti, but my mom raised me Haitian. I spoke Creole fluently as a youngster and as a teenager. Like, I feel Haitian in my being. I do not at all identify with being American, African American here. And so to be able to play this role in this pivotal poem is an absolute honor. And I think the beauty of it is that while I grew up in the States, there are so many ways that I identify with the poem in terms of school and classmates and, you know, the panorama of the countryside. For me, my panorama was the streets of New York, but here I get a glimpse of my mother's homeland that I feel akin to, but I get to experience it as a part of literature to give me a sense of what life is like there. Flè Dizè was introduced to me by my husband, Gilberte Pascal. And being the poet that he doesn't only cultivate his own poetry, but he actively engages and exposes me to the art of other poets, the words of other poets. And so that's how I became acquainted with the poem. But for me, the impact of the poem is that it brings to life the regular rhythm of what it means to be Haitian. You know, waking up with the dew on the flowers and kids getting ready to school, some getting ready for school, some going to fetch water, some tending to their animals, peasants taking their goods that they grew in their farms and taking it to market. All of that brings the country to life. The heart of the people comes alive with the peasants giving the kids food and poor Guillaume, you know, being the remarkable teacher that he is. Not only did he value the experience that the students who were in school were having, but it was equally important that he reach out to those that weren't there, specifically Flè Dizè. And so I was also I am an educator. And so I understand the passion for wanting to ensure that all your kids are learning and all of them are having an experience, because we understand that being able to read and write and to interact with peers is the basis for being a viable citizen. But I think what was extraordinary about him was that he could have gone alone to go and find out about what was going with his young student, but he brought the whole class. And so together they went to see about a fellow classmate, which is absolutely amazing because the lessons that come out of that are deep and profound. Thus, the author of this poem would several decades later write about this whole experience because it was just that remarkable. And so I think it also speaks to, you know, the notion of fraternité when we talk about being Haitian, that we are brothers, we are together in establishing and creating our country. And so we see kind of like a microcosm of what the country was based on, you know, freedom, access, opportunity, growth, potential. It's all compacted in this poem. And so, you know, it's a definite honor that I get to partake and be, you know, the English voice of this tribute to this beautiful work of art.